Checksum and 048 project. I am the lead developer and PHP coder. Bill is our UI lead, and Will is our team leader. Our advisor was Dr. Philip Jagodzinski, and he's an associate professor here. Our client was Dr. Chase Steele, and he is working for the Department of Management, which is a subsidiary of the School of Business. He's also the director of the Northwest Center for Organizational Research. And the problem that he came to us with was a survey-taking website. He wanted a way for students to be able to anonymously take a survey and then to be able to do analytics on the survey data without having any sort of personal information attached to it. We also had to tie into the Qualtrics, which is survey-taking software. The client chose to do this because it allowed powerful analytics and other things that would take us quite a long time to create ourselves. The design method that we chose was extreme programming. We picked this because it would allow a lot of feedback from our client very quickly, and we also felt it would be a good way for our team members to get up to speed, and we all had a fairly similar coding abilities. We felt that this would be a good way for us to all keep up to speed and maintain the website. Coming up, we have several different requirements that we wanted to discuss with you, and Will take over.
So, the requirements for this project is we're required to make a web page. The client came to us with a domain name, and that's it. And he wanted us to create a web page for him that he could house all the content that he has. We needed users to be able to register and to be able to log in so that they could get to their individualized content, their individualized surveys, see what they've taken, how others have done. And we also, a big requirement was to interact with Qualtrics. We found how we could do this through the API. And so with the web page, the center just needed a web page to hold all their survey data, and they wanted the users to be able to log in through this web page. The web page is also needed for front end because we needed to be able to reach as many users as possible. We thought that web would be the best way to create this, and they will house all of the back end for our project. And we also created this web page using HTML and PHP. It allows us to dynamically load content while other static content remains unchanged, as you will see. With registration, we wanted to make it as easy and simple as possible. We wanted the user just to register with a name, an email, and a password. So any other data fields were not required, and it would not keep the user from potentially registering. There's validation currently of the email. The password is stored as a SHA-256, and we also salted this SHA-256, so it's a very secure password. It's not being passed as just the text, so any sniffer will not find the password. And also we need to make sure that the registration would tie to a Qualtrics registration. So while they register on our web page, they would also register on the Qualtrics web page at the same time, and the account would be using the same credentials that they gave. Login is just a simple username password that has already been registered. All the login information will be stored on our database, and there are two different types of logins. There's a user login, and there's also an administrative login where faculty can kind of see what the users have been doing. So this is a demonstration of our web page. This is what it looks like currently. This is just the home page when you load it up. At the top there is a content is thrown in there, it'll add the link, and then it'll add so that when you click that link, it'll create the content in the middle. So we're going to click the About Us and show. It just loads the About Us content. That's what the NWCOR is about and their mission statement. We're going to click the top banner to return us back home. We're back at the home page. Now Contact Us reloads the information in the middle, and that's the contact information for the center. If we click the banner again, we'll return to the home page. Now here we're going to try and click the survey button without being logged in. This takes us to the login screen because without being logged in, there's no way to gather what surveys you have taken, what surveys you haven't. And now we're going to click the login, go to the screen. Here you would put your username and password. Since we have not created one, we will register. And it will bring us to this registration screen. Now, right now it just takes the username, email, and password. And if you type in something like name and let's say an incorrect email but a password, it'll return that you need to enter your email as something at something dot something. That was the best way we could get to verify. And now we will actually register. It will take you to a thank you for registering screen. It will then save your username and password in our database so that you can log in. And now we'll turn to the login screen. We have our name that we created and our password. And we're going to log in. The account that we created was a user account, non-administrative account. So this is, you will see a hello message. You will see surveys, which there currently are not created, and you'll be able to log in. Now, if you were to log in with an administrative account, you will see the administrative content. You will see a member list. You'll be able to edit accounts, and you'll be able to log in. Here is if you were to click the surveys. Currently, there are no surveys. None of the professors have created any surveys, so this page right now is just informing them that there are no surveys yet, but it lets them know that they are logged in. And Travis will be letting us know what's going on next.
So for our future iterations, because this was a fairly simple website in the beginning, with just a lot of API calls, we discussed a few different ways to make this a little bit more challenging and a little bit more fitting for a senior project. The couple things that we came up with were doing a webinar, which would be just a place for professors to add content via like a Flash player of some sort. Maybe they have a YouTube account, and then each one of those videos would be pulled into their page. We also plan on getting more integration with Qualtrics. Right now, we've had some trouble tracking down the API token, but we're working on that. There's also a community outreach page that he wanted. He wanted a place for resources that anyone could look for in the Ellensburg area. And he wanted internship opportunities and other things that other people might find useful. This is an example of our current database schema, which is quite minimalistic at this time. This is because we don't have any Qualtrics integration at the current time. And the reason that we have two separate tables for this user data is our client did not want any possible way that he could potentially see this data. And if there was any sort of administrative issues that they had to do on the SQL side, he did not want to be able to directly see the data. We linked the two between an auto-incremented ID, and as we discussed earlier, there is a username password that takes or that encrypts with a SHA-2 256 string, and it is also salted. The testing methodology that we chose to use allowed for several things. We did unit testing and acceptance testing with Selenium. This will allow us to create accounts and do all these things automated so that we don't have to manually do these things every single time. We also are using Assembla as our version control, and we felt that the extreme programming would allow us a lot of interaction with our client and get feedback from him quite quickly. Bill will be talking about our integration.
Assembla is going to be used for our constant integration repository, which will give us remote access and allow us to work from home. For quality assurance, will mostly be the final iteration. We will do the bulk of testing, and continual meetings with the client throughout the project will be important to keep on the right track with them. And as part of the final iteration as well will be possibly beta testing or just a small group of users. Our biggest risk is probably getting full functionality out of the API with Qualtrics. Right now we don't have tokens to even be able to see the methods yet, so that will hopefully change soon, and that'll probably be priority number one for us to get those basically working. Our clients did kind of change. It's the same department, but we have a new contact, and again we'll have to continually meet with him to keep on pace. The final server for our web hosting is not decided yet, but we are using basic code, HTML, PHP, SQL, and JavaScript, so it should be a portable package. Team member leave of absence, again, we will have remote access, and they can hopefully keep up in this case, or we will cover for them as necessary. Running out of time, we do have a schedule laid out. As long as we follow that, meet our iteration goals, we should finish on time. And as part of that, focus on functionality first and have a presentable product we can fall back on near the end, whether it's completely finished or not. The first iteration is mostly finished, which is gathering requirements. We know basically all we need to finish this. And we have a basic scaffolding to build upon now. For iteration 2, our biggest goal will be the API, as well as 3, just further gaining full functionality out of that. Then we'll build the database for our end. And iteration 5 should have a presentable product and go through the final testing and have a finished product for iteration 6. Any questions?
I have two. I noticed that in your database you have per user salts, and the salt is stored right next to the hash password in the same table.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I actually got the question, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, I didn't phrase it as a question. If it's in the same table, how do you expect that to be more secure?
That's something that we are going to be changing. Originally for our database, this was just for testing. We wanted to make sure that we could generate a hash that would then be able to be compared with the salt. It will change throughout our next iteration after we integrate more with Qualtrics and we have a better idea of how we're going to tie those things together.
Okay. And my second question is, where is your password actually
It is hashed within the registration. There's a method that.
I mean, is it hashed on the server or is it hashed in the client? Because you said
No,
that
it's hashed on the server. It's all done via PHP and is passed to the SQL database.
Okay. So, and then how does the client connect to that? Is it the client is sending password over just a plain HTTP connection?
It's rehashed and then the two hashes are compared.
So the client does hash?
No,
This is probably going to be a somewhat involved conversation. Probably should.
Okay, but we can continue outside of us. Are there any other questions?
Have you guys taken a web design course? Do you have web design experience?
Bill and I have taken the introductory web design course.
Okay. Why are you, so, as I understood it, you're only testing your product at the end, in the last iteration, is that right?
No, there's also giving the iterations to the client. We've been doing that.
Okay, so the only testing happens at the end of iterations?
I would think we'd test throughout, just kind of final testing, really more user testing.
And what's your approach to testing throughout?
We've run through several basic scenarios. The validation was our main concern when we first started. We also wanted to make sure that there was no possibility for SQL injection or any other potential security issues because we are interfacing with another API.
Okay. Can you go back to your continuous integration slide? Can you explain to me what you mean by constant integration with a repository?
We will all be able to constantly integrate through assembler.
Okay, I'm just unclear on this. What do you integrate? Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm confusing the term, but similar to version control, just keeping
Okay, so you're not integrating modules of the project together, you're just tracking source revisions. Is that what you're saying?
We built each one of the logging components and the registration separately. We tested those against the database at separate times. So everything can be pulled out and it is its own component. If that's
Okay.
So we did have to take time to test that they work together. And that's where when we integrated the code together in the assembler repository.
But you have no automated process for doing that. Okay. Thank you.